So this is a review of I'm going to call it I guess you could call it an interview that JJ Scarborough did yesterday. And what he's talking about, apparently he's catching some heat from people on YouTube about being a criminal, about stealing money from the county and being a crook and so on. And they're pointing to the people apparently, or must be pointing to the audit results from when the annual audit results to come about the findings from the audit report about the jail findings in the audit report. And this is a fascinating to me, it's a fascinating bunch of statements. I really don't have anything to say about it. I don't know, man. I can't figure this guy out, man. I've been following this guy on YouTube for a while, and I just can't figure him out. I mean, he's a complex personality, I guess you would say. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go through this little speech he gives, and I'm going to stop it and just point out what jumped out at me, and maybe demonstrate to you and show you what exactly he's talking about. And we'll see how it goes. All right.
Failed audit. We talked about this earlier today too.
Yep. Got it on film. Yep. Go ahead.
If somebody has a failed audit usually ends in an indictment.
Okay. A failed audit. So people are accusing him of failing audits. And his first statement is a failed audit usually results in a criminal prosecution or something. He did use the word usually, not always, right? A failed audit doesn't necessarily mean that it's a result of some criminal activity. It could be a civil infraction, maybe. It could be a civil problem, which it is, which a lot of times it is. So let's go. But he's going to focus on the criminality of it and the right and wrong of it. But he's just missing. He's not. I don't know whether he misses it. He doesn't understand it. He doesn't get it. I think he doesn't get it. I really think he doesn't get it. But anyway, let's go ahead.
It means you stole money.
No, it doesn't mean you stole money. Failing an audit doesn't mean you stole money.
A failed audit is not a recommendation saying that you shouldn't pay for a vehicle this way.
Okay, so you notice he immediately focuses in on a failed audit, and he's saying that, I guess he's saying that the finding on the audit, the failure in the audit was that he didn't pay for a vehicle the right way. All right.
Let's go back to my last audit where I got some findings.
Let's do that. Let's go back. Let's see. Oh.
I didn't pay for a truck for the right account.
Okay, that's true. You didn't pay for the truck in the right account. So this is the finding that he's referring. This is the item. This is the finding that he's referring to. So if you'll notice that the finding at the top is not about a truck. It's about that JJ didn't get fiscal court approval before entering into contracts and spent county funds without fiscal court approval in violation of 2 Kentucky revised statutes. Statutes, I assume, are a law. So he broke the law, right? He broke the law, not criminal, civil. Broke the law because he entered into contracts with the county money without getting approval from the fiscal court. Now, further down, you'll see the backlighted part is the part that JJ's focusing on here. The jail fund receipts and disbursements were understated on the financial statement, since they were paid for by the tech bonus and not included in the jail fund budgeted expenses and receipts. That's where he's talking about the truck. Okay, so he's focusing on his payment of the truck. And he's not focusing on the actual meat of the finding, which is highlighted below the backlit part, when he says the jailer was unaware that fiscal court approval was required in regard to contracts that pertain to the jail. The jailer was not aware that this was violation of state law. So he doesn't, all he's talking about is the truck part.
But what they fail to realize is one of the 2023 Chevrolet trucks that I paid for, I had a vendor. I talked a vendor into paying for a truck for the jail. That means that.
Okay, what he did was he signed a contract against state law, violating apparently two statutes of state law that says you can't sign contracts like that without getting the fiscal court approval. He's skipping over that completely. Man, he's okay. So
this truck costs the county taxpayers $0.
That's not true. The county taxpayers, that's the county taxpayers' money, and that's what you got in trouble for, was when you spent the money on the truck from the tech kickback fund that you got from the person that you signed the contract with. It wasn't recorded properly as county funds. That's the problem. There was a recording of it.
That means as part of a sign-on bonus and part of a negotiation with a contractor that I got somebody else to buy a truck for the county.
Right. You just didn't register it as county funds. And you know, if you look in the findings to JJ's, so that whole we'll look at his response in a minute to that. But in his response, the only thing he talks about is, well, that was a mistake of the vendor. They sent it to the wrong account or something. That was their fault. He doesn't even, in the findings, he doesn't address at all the main issue. So in the actual audit report, when he had to respond, he didn't even address the main thrust of the problem with the finding. He just went to the mechanism of the truck being paid for and said it was the vendor's fault.
Can anybody find a wrong in that?
Well, yeah, because there's two state statutes that you violated by signing into that contract. And the contract, was a tech grant, and that allows you to spend money from it to pay for things, and you're not, and it is county money, right? The tech contract grant is county money, not your money. And so you're playing around with people's money it's not your money. So in his response, the jailer's response to the official finding to the auditors, he focuses on the vehicle that was purchased from the tech grant and how it was the people sent the money to the wrong place or something. I don't know. It wasn't his fault. It was the vendor's error, not JJ's error.
$1,000 for a truck, or if you had somebody else saying, "Hey, we'll buy that truck for you," would you have let them buy that truck? Yes. Yep. They bought the truck for the county. It's in a county's name. The county's name is on the title. Please fine me for that. We saved the county $38,000 for a truck that we needed. But then again, I don't expect a bunch of nimrods that can't hold a job Monday through Friday, 8 to 4. I don't expect them to understand that. I don't expect them to be able to grasp the concept of how you negotiate deals like that, how you can get a free truck for the county.
That's an interesting statement. So you don't expect nimrods to be able to understand the concept of signing an illegal contract to get I don't know, man. I don't know.
When you guys were discussing that about that send him to jail, make him lose his job type thing. I don't know if I over explained that or not, but when you guys were discussing the truck thing, I'm like, oh yeah, finding, duh. Why is everyone making such a big fuss about this ethics committee? And
Yeah, I actually couldn't agree with you more, man. Of course, I actually just pulled up the website.
Well, because the ethics thing is kind of along the same lines. I mean, it's not criminal, it's civil. You know, people say, well, you know, I mean, I've got a clip of JJ saying that it's not civil, or telling people that the ethics hearing is not civil or criminal. In fact, it is civil. It's a civil violation. It's equivalent of a guilty finding in a civil violation. If you actually read the ethics ordinance itself, you will see it says guilty of a civil violation. So is there a blind spot for? It's like, is everything either criminal or not criminal? Like is there a blind spot for civil violations? Civil violations don't make you a criminal. Is that the line we're drawing here?
And yeah, I mean, we can move along to, let's say, the fuel findings. They didn't like the way I kept fuel receipts.
Okay, this is an interesting one. The fuel findings. Okay, that's another hit. Let's have a look at that one. Okay, so this is the second finding that he's going to talk about. Didn't have adequate controls over jail commissary purchases, bulk fuel purchases. So this involves, there's another issue here. So there are two funds. There are two funds at the jail, basically, that we're talking about here. One is the jail fund, which is money that comes from, had to do with the previous finding. And then this finding has to do with there's a second fund called the commissary fund, or the canteen, whatever. And that's kind of, for lack of a better word, it's like a slush fund at the jail. It's not really monitored that well by the fiscal court because it's sort of an internal thing. But it's where it's where the jails, and it's not just this jail, it's all the jails, prisons, I guess, everywhere. They run their little businesses to make money. And they use the commissary fund. So like when they have, I guess when they charge inmates for stuff, they they make a little profit, and then all that money comes through the commissary fund, and then whatever profits they make, they're supposed to use for the well-being of the inmates. So anything they spend from that account, from that commissary fund, has to meet certain requirements as to how it benefits the inmates. So, and that's not normally really, looked at too much, I guess. I don't know. I mean, there's a whole volume of information on the abuse of commissary funds. So anyway, so the fuel, bulk fuel thing is a commissary fund thing. So they buy the fuel from the commissary fund, and they install a bulk fuel tank at the jail, so they could fill up. It's for the inmates, right? So when they go on a yard crew or a road crew or trash pickup or whatever it is he's got them doing, maybe it has to do with the wood shop and they have to haul something somewhere, or who knows what. They can use the gasoline from the bulk fuel tank. And then, okay, so what the auditor is saying here is you're not keeping track of how it's used, adequately. Now, the interesting thing is that in a previous audit, there was a finding that they weren't keeping track at all of the usage of the fuel from the bulk tank. And then I guess apparently they started keeping some sort of track of it. Now this one comes up and says, well, it's not adequate. It's not adequate to tell what's going on with this fuel, who's getting this fuel, what it's being used for, blah, blah, blah. Apparently there was a hit where they actually used down here in the middle, there was a entry on a fuel log where they were using it for transport inmates. That's a no-no. That comes from the commissary fund. The commissary fund is not for using to transport inmates, right? For transport, so I guess from jail to jail or whatever. It's supposed to be commissary fund purposes. So there was a hit there. They used the funds that were supposed to be used for the welfare of the inmates. They were using it for jail purposes. That had nothing to do with the welfare of the inmates. So using the jail commissary fund money for jail operations apparently is a couple more laws that were broken. KRS 65-142 and KRS 68-210. Let's see what happens next. Let's see what he says next.
They didn't like a paper log. A paper log wasn't transparent enough. So their idea was, I need to put in an electronic fuel metering system. Now, granted.
Okay, that's just wrong. That's just wrong. So now let's look at something else here. So what JJ is saying here is that he said that the paper was not adequate. The paper log was not adequate. Okay, which the finding doesn't say the paper log isn't adequate. The finding says that there's just not adequate information in order to tell. For example, you come fill up the tank, it's X gallons to fill it up. Okay. The last time it was filled up, so it's filled up. Okay, so all the fuel that was used, where did it go? Who used it? Well, let's look at the documentation. This is who used it. Just having a piece of paper that says Joe used it doesn't really, or whatever, is not adequate. They want more information so they can actually tell what's going on. So what he's going to focus on, you see, they have a couple recommendations, and you can see here where he focuses on that he's trying to be efficient, right? He completely misses the whole, to me, I'm just saying, like, he misses the whole finding. Dude, this is not just a question of efficiency. This is a matter of statutory law. You have to do this. This is not just, well, I think this is more efficient. That doesn't, the way we're doing it is more efficient. That's not adequate, right? So he starts off saying the fuel we purchase is ethanol free, which is proven to be more efficient in small engines. Okay, what that really has to do with anything is beyond me. To me, that doesn't apply to this situation at all. This is JJ's response to the auditor. The jail created a written fuel log to keep up with the fuel. During the recent audit, we were told this log is not an efficient way to track fuel usage. That's wrong. I didn't see anything in the finding where it said anything about efficiency. I don't know where, this is something that's just going on in his brain, I think. This fixation on efficiency at the expense of everything else. Kind of seems to me, I don't know. It is recommended. Now, see, they might recommend different things. Like, they don't care. They don't care how you do it, right? They don't care what you implement. Like say, for example, if you put a soda machine, right? And that's part of the commissary fund because you're going to be making profits off the soda machine. Well, they want to know like how many sodas are being sold, like so they can tell how much money you're making off the machine. They don't care how you keep track of how many sodas are out of the soda machine. They're not going to tell you how to do it. They don't care. All they care is that you have adequate documentation of how many sodas you sold out of the soda machine. So, and it's the same way here. They don't care how you do it. They don't care how you keep track of the fuel usage so that it's adequate. They just care that you keep track of it so that it's adequate. So this whole thing about efficiency is just not really pertinent, right? So the first recommendation was, it was recommended that we could create an Excel spreadsheet to record our fuel usage, but I don't feel like having one person in the front office who never uses a fuel pump should create and maintain a fuel log on the Excel spreadsheet. Okay, fine, whatever, that's a recommendation. You could do this. I mean, they'll say that. Well, JJ, I mean, you could do this and you could do that. I mean, there's different things you can do. We don't really care. We can recommend a way that you can do it, but we're not going to tell you how to do it. Maybe you can come up on your own a way to do it. We don't care as long as it's done adequately. But the JJ focuses on solely on this. Another recommendation was installing some type of fuel metering device to monitor the fuel more efficiently. I don't feel like this would be cost effective considering the small amount of fuel. Okay, but this is what JJ focuses on. Just the recommendation of the fuel metering machine. He leaves out the Excel spreadsheet thing or any other idea he might have of how you could possibly adequately keep track of things, which is required by law, by the way. It's just, yeah, okay. And then, so the auditor considers his reply, and then their reply to him is keeping adequate written fuel logs to amounts of fuel purchased and refill the tank is a basic internal control that could deter or eliminate possible ineligible use of the jail commissary fuel.
Makes sense. But we're talking about a jail, a smaller jail. We buy an average of between 1,800 and 2,500 gallons of fuel every year. This fuel is used for like our road crew, wood splitters, chainsaws, weed eaters, that kind of stuff. So we're saving about 8 cents a gallon by buying this fuel in bulk. So now the auditors come in and they're like, well, the paper logs, they're not 100% transparent. They could be altered. There could be something wrong with them. You could alter a paper log. So you need to put in a fuel metering device, kind of like the one, you go to the gas station and you swipe a card, enter a vehicle ID number. Well, that's $42,000.
No, they didn't say you need to put in a fuel metering device. That's wrong. And oh God, this is all wrong.
$42,000. How many 8 cents a gallon would I have to save? How many years would it take for that system to pay for itself? 150 years? So no, that's pretty cut and dry. If they're not worried about me trying to save the county money to prevent, our people from going to the gas station, the extra hours that it takes to go to the gas station to save 8 cents a gallon, if they'd rather me spend $1 to save a nickel, that makes no sense to me. So we simply just said, okay, we'll cut it out. We'll go back to the gas station. We'll spend $1 to save a nickel, whatever. No big deal.
Wouldn't, even if you get it from the gas station on a gas card, wouldn't you still need to keep track of it? I mean, that might be a future finding. I don't know. Yeah, you went back to the gas cards, but you're still not keeping track of the use of the fuel. You got to keep track of it one way or another, right? I don't know. This is bizarre to me. Does he not really get it? I don't think he gets it. I wonder, does he not get it, or I don't know, man. It's weird.
There was no finding that said JJ stole gasoline or there's 1,000 gallons of gasoline missing.
Well, there is a finding that said that you stole. They didn't use that word, but they did say you used the gas for an unauthorized use. You used it for transport.
No, that is a manipulation. And that's part of that hatred that comes from me calling them out on YouTube, is in that's a good punchline. That's a good go-to for them. And at the end of the day,
It's all about the YouTube, man.
I've said this before and I'll say it again. You got a bunch of people out here who can't even manage their daily finances, who have filed bankruptcy in the past, who can't pay their child support, who can't pay their credit card bills, who can't even fund or work to provide for their own family, who they have to depend on people, and they're going to tell me how to run a multi-million-dollar jail? No. So
it wasn't a tic-tac and not quite a saucer, more like a hubcap designed by Chaucer, a little baroque and quite steampunk, like Alice was playing bass for the Parliament of Folk. The little fucker hovered right outside of my window, and when I shoved out the screen, he made it an issue. I don't think he expected me to see his ass, but I'd had some champagne and smoked a little grass. Meditative gamma stayed full on meta. Can't imagine how it could have been any better. I got to the top of the stairs and there he was. Like, you awake? I was about to abduct you, cuz. I jumped back and nearly kissed myself, and I climbed out the window after the elf, and I woke up in my bed and there was something on my head and everything was weird and everything was red. And I called out to my boys. They thought this was noise. They thought it was a dream. They thought it was my toys. They thought it was my problems, and they think I should seek therapy, and I don't know what to do because it doesn't really scare me.